Hello and welcome back. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana, and you are watching Marksman TV. Today I have another tabletop review and comparison for you with three snub-nose 357 concealed carry revolvers. Over here we have the Kimber K6S. Here in the middle, the new King Cobra by Colt. And over here, the tried and true Ruger SP101. Obviously, these are all three hammerless 357 revolvers. We will start with a point-by-point comparison, kind of going over the specs of each, and then a general comparison of all of them. So if you are looking for your next concealed carry 357, you might have a better idea of which one would fit your needs the best. Anyway, if that all sounds interesting to you, please stick around. That's coming up now. Now, I typically start off these reviews with a unboxing, but being that these are revolvers, they don't come with magazines or anything like that. They just come with the firearm in the box. I will spare you those details. The Kimber does come in a cardboard box with a little nylon sleeve. The Colt does come in the Colt blue hard case. The Rugers I've seen them both in the white cardboard box and in the gray plastic case, so depending on how old of one you were purchasing, they're always switching back and forth, so it's either going to be cardboard or plastic. Either way, a lot of that again doesn't really matter, and you'll get the firearm, gun safety lock manuals, and that sort of thing. Next, let's look at the overall size comparison of the three. So I will start over here with the Ruger. This Ruger does have a 2¼ inch barrel. It is 6.1 inches in length and 5 inches tall. Going over to the Colt King Cobra, it is 6.25 inches long and 5¾ inches tall, making this the largest of the three here, and it does have a 2-inch barrel. The Kimber K6S also does have a 2-inch barrel. It does have an overall length of 5¾ inches with a height of 5 inches. So the Kimber and the Ruger are about the same height. The Kimber being the shortest of the three, and the Colt King Cobra being the overall largest package. Now here is each one laying on top of a dollar bill. I have the top of the frame lined up with the top of the dollar bill, with the face of the muzzle right here at the edge of the top corner of the dollar bill, so you guys can get an idea of a reference points on the size of each of these three. Okay, now let's go ahead and weigh each of these. I will start off here with the Kimber. It does have a weight of 1 pound 7.1 ounces. Here to the Ruger, 1 pound 9.1 ounces, so we are still lighter on the Kimber. Colt, 1 pound 10.1 ounces, so our lightest is the Kimber, followed by the Ruger, followed by the Colt. So again, Kimber is still the smallest package and lightest package. Colt still the largest package and heaviest package, so keep that in mind. Okay, let's go ahead and start with a point-by-point comparison, starting up here at the front end with the Ruger SP101. There, of course, are your roll markings, 357 Magnum. Now, the ejector rod is shrouded underneath the barrel up here at the front, and keep in mind this is a 2¼ inch barrel. Now, you don't have any type of ribbing or anything at the top of the barrel. It is totally smooth, and you do have your front sight, which is ramped and steel in construction. There is no coloring on it. It does have, sorry about the focus there, it does have little serrations in there to get kind of disperse any type of glare on the front sight. Now, the front sight itself does have a little roll pin, so if you want to tap that out, you can replace the front sight. It's a relatively easy process. The Kimber K6S is going to be very similar. There's your caliber designation here at the front, and then of course the K6S roll marking. Now, the ejector rod is shrouded just like it was on the Ruger SP101. Here is your front sight, which is in a white dot configuration, so you do have a little bit better pickup there on your sights, but again, keep in mind this is a concealed carry snub-nose revolver, so really not meant for long-range accuracy, but those sights are, in my opinion, undoubtedly better. Now, there is a little roll pin again right here, so sight replacements are a pretty easy affair there as well. Okay, now the barrel up here on the King Cobra. So it does have more of a tapered look, which is more classic. Keep in mind this is sort of a bringback from the King Cobra that was popular many decades ago. So you do have that sort of tapered look. Now the ejector rod is also shrouded as well, just like on the other two. The sight is somewhere in between the others. It's a little bit lower profile than on the Kimber K6S, but of course is higher profile than is on the Ruger SP101, and does have a little white dot there. Now, none of these sights are night sights, but again, that's not too much of a big deal. It's just a little snub-nose revolver. Now, moving back into the frame, the finish on this is a brushed stainless. It's the same on all three. Sort of a mid-sized frame. Again, kind of what I would still equate to somewhat of like a J-frame, or a little bit larger if we're talking Smith & Wessons, as using a size reference. So again, you saw that size comparison with the dollar bill and everything there. Pretty plain Jane, nothing really. Again, it's a revolver. The only little component you're going to have there is your cylinder release, which of course a Colt always moves back towards the shooter, whereas most everybody else is either pushed in, like on a Ruger, which you'll see, or pushed forward like on a Smith. But you just pull that back, roll out your cylinder. Now, this is a 6-shot cylinder. Keep in mind, again, this is a 357, so we'll also shoot 38 specials and 38 plus Ps. Now, the Kimber K6S, of course, you have the Kimber roll markings here in the back. You do have these little ridges here on the side, a little bit more of a smoother type of look on the Colt, but still nice, sort of modern looking, so it's very nice. This is also a brushed stainless, a very nice size trigger guard. Small size gloves would probably fit in there, but you really don't have a lot of room outside of that. The trigger guard on the Colt King Cobra is just a little bit larger. The design, the stylizing design on the cylinder, again, is a little bit different. You don't have deep cuts. It's more of sort of like an octagonal type look. Sort of, if you look at it from the profile, there's sort of 45-degree angles in the cuts into the cylinder, which again, there's really no functional difference there, but it's just very stylistic looking. So they did pay attention. It's kind of a modernized looking revolver. Now again, you don't have any type of buttons or anything like that other than the cylinder release, which is right here, and it pushes in and then swing it out. Now, like the Colt King Cobra, it is a 6-round capacity. Again, this is a 357 revolver, so will also chamber 38s and 38 plus P, no problem. Now, the Ruger SP101, of course, there's your Ruger graphics there. Again, also a brushed stainless. Trigger guard is probably a little bit smaller than on the K6S and definitely smaller than on the Colt. Really going to have trouble putting any type of gloves in there, again, unless they're really thin profile gloves. Now again, no types of buttons or anything here on the receiver, or the frame, I'm sorry, other than the cylinder release button, which is here. Just like the Kimber, you push it in to release and then sling the cylinder out. Now, this is a 5-shot, not a 6-shot, so you are losing 1 round there, but it is a 357. Again, will also chamber 38s and 38 plus P. Okay, now the ejector rod here on the Colt King Cobra, it does feel a little bit gritty, and there's a good amount of resistance there. Nice spring tension. You could probably hear that sort of, what I want to say, sort of washboard effect here on the ejector rod, so there is a little bit of resistance there. Now the cylinder smooths nice and free. Now you don't want to do this too much with a revolver, but here I just wanted to show you. Very nice, smooth, very polished feeling. Again, your ejector rod, nice length to it, and there is this texture here at the end, easier for you to grip onto. So nice setup there. Locks in nice and tight. You can rotate it over to its index position there as well. Now the Kimber cylinder, again, very nice and loose. Very little resistance there, very nice and smooth. I like that a lot. Now the ejector rod is equally as nice. I mean, this just feels great. No grittiness, no resistance. Very nice, smooth ejector rod. It is a little bit shorter than on the Colt King Cobra and a little bit wider. Also does have the texturing here at the end. But overall, this feels the most refined and polished and smooth to me. Locks in nice and tight. Again, rotated to index. Just a nice overall fit and finish there on the cylinder. Here on the Ruger, the ejector rod itself is sort of narrow and does not have any type of texturing here at the end. Now, this does feel, out of the 3, kind of the most gritty with the most amount of resistance on there. But not overall bad. The cylinder not spinning as freely as on the other 2, but again, that's not too bad of an issue. Now, keep in mind, the cylinder advancing pawl is really doing all the work and pushing it sort of 1 rotation at a time, so you don't need a super fine and polished free spinning cylinder there anyway. But keep in mind, as the firearm gets dirtier, there could be you know, the least amount of resistance in the rotation of the cylinder is better. That'll just help your reliability. But keep in mind also, these are revolvers, which are inherently reliable. But anyway, if you can get with that extra sort of detail and the fitment and the free rotation of the parts, why not? It's always a plus. It'll do nothing but help in the end, even if the help isn't really that necessary with the revolver. Locks in really nice. Just rotate it to index. Again, no complaints there. Taking a look at the sights here, starting with the Colt King Cobra, you will see there is no rear sight. It is just a gutter sight down into just a dot. It's just actually sort of a brass fill here on the front. Very quick and easy for your eyes to pick up. Very simple, very simplistic sights. Again, not super necessary to have nice competition or adjustable sights or anything on this. Again, keep in mind it is a self-defense snub nose 357, which is more of a draw, you know, point and shoot, if you will, when you really need it. So usually your engagement's probably going to be within about 7 yards anyway. Ruger SP101 is going to be very much the same, just a simple gutter sight with that front sight that I showed you earlier, which is very shallow with no type of color fill or anything. So of the three, sort of has the most basic sight picture. Again, snub nose revolver, not built for competition shooting by any means. Just very simple, draw it, shoot it when you need to. Again, probably within an engagement range of about 7 yards at most. So the sights here on the Kimber are in a 3-dot configuration. Nicer sight setup than on the other two, obviously. Now the rear sight is dovetailed in place, so rear sight replacements are going to be pretty easy. Also, you could technically drift it for windage. Of course, there is no elevation adjustment on these, just like on the other two. So again, even for a snub nose, why not? If you can go with a better sight picture, again, keep in mind the overall height is still shorter than on the other two. Actually, it's the same height as the Ruger, but it's still shorter than on the Colt. So you're not really giving up a lot there, so why not go for better sights? Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at the grip on these. Again, the Ruger is sitting at 5 inches tall. Now again, I have medium to small size hands, and I have a perfectly good purchase. I can fit all 3 of my off fingers here just fine. I have no pinky fall off here on the bottom, so really nice positive grip for me. The top of the grip swell really aligns perfectly with the top of the web of my hand. So a really nice, comfortable, ergonomic grip to me. Very simple, a very linear feel, no finger grooves or anything like that. Again, polymer with a, sort of like a rubber with like this little polymer plate insert. Gives very nice little texturing here. You do have sort of the Hogue rubber type feel on the front and the back strap. So nice positive hold, really enough to grip onto and keep your hand engaged on the grip, especially with the higher recoil of a 357 and a small lightweight revolver. Now the Kimber is also sort of this tacky rubbery type feel, like similar to what you would find on a Hogue. There is a little swell in here as a finger groove. Hands fit right aligned there. Now keep in mind, again, even though I have small hands, pinky is falling off on the bottom. Some people that bothers, some people it doesn't. I did carry a Glock 26 for a few years, so I'm kind of used to the pinky there falling off at the bottom. Keep in mind, if you have large hands at all, this is going to be kind of a tough grip for you. But also, if you are concealed carrying, what is going to print the most is that grip. So a smaller grip is going to make it an overall more concealable package, but just not as comfortable and ergonomic. And you know, again, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to hold on to something with high recoil, such as a 357 snub nose. Now, the grip on the Colt King Cobra feels the best to me. Again, sort of this rubbery type Hogue sort of feel, and you do have like this little pebbling type texture here with finger grooves. Again, my hand sits in there and lines up perfectly and does keep my finger away from the trigger guard, which if any of you have shot high-powered snub nose revolvers or any type of revolver, usually the trigger guard will really ding into you. So I do like the fact that there is some distance there that will be a little bit more comfortable. Again, the top of the web of my hand sits in very nicely with the top of the grip. Of course, being a hammerless option on all 3, you're not going to have any risk of any type of hammer bite. Overall, again, this feels the best to me, but again, that comes with a, sorry about all the focus in and out there for you guys, but this is going to come at a detriment of a little bit more length there on the grip end, which could potentially print a little bit more, especially if you're wearing more tighter fitting clothing. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the trigger, starting here with the Ruger. So here I'm kind of at a weird angle, so I've got kind of a unorthodox positioning on my finger here, but you will be able to, again, this is a single action only hammerless, so you will be able to stage pretty well. I'm going to try to extend myself away here. You can stage pretty well to sort of almost like a single action pull from that wall there, sort of like a 2-stage trigger, and then pull from there. Again, very easy to stage that trigger, bring it in right there, pull through. I kind of have my elbows cocked around the tripod, so I'm a little bit weird position there, but it is easy to stage and then follow through once you align those sides, squeeze through on the trigger. My trigger pull gauge actually just broke. It's actually not calibrated correctly, so my guess is that final pull there is probably around 3.5 pounds. Now on the Colt King Cobra, again, you do have a little bit more of a sharp sort of what I want to say angle to the trigger, so I do kind of like the feel of that. It just feels overall longer. Again, in contrast with this large trigger guard, you could easily get in a nice set of gloves in there if you're carrying in the winter time. But anyway, I'm going to extend my arms out a little bit here. But again, on this, you can stage very easily on that trigger without even really having to. To me, this feels so much more refined and smooth than on the Ruger. Right there to that wall, and just a nice little push, and then you're shooting every single time. I just really like that trigger a lot. Very easy to use, very quick and easy to get to get used to. I've only really been playing with this for about a day, and already I just know exactly mentally when to stop applying pressure and then pull right through. And I would guess, again, no trigger gauge here, I'm just guessing, I would say about 2.5 pounds from this point right there. Now the Kimber here is a shrouded hammer, so again, you can, it's basically, there is no staging point. I mean, it's just straight up double action, start pulling and squeeze until you feel the break. You can, I'm trying actively, so you can kind of train yourself to stage the trigger a little bit, but it's not an exact science. If you're just pulling straight through, again, typical double action pull, probably around 6-7 pounds. It is very smooth and it is a nice trigger, but out of the three, I would easily give this to the Colt King Cobra. It is undoubtedly, in my opinion, the best, and it's kind of a toss-up between this and the Ruger for me on what I prefer afterwards. But I like the ability to be able to stage that trigger. But again, if you are within 7 yards, not going to be too big of an issue. Draw it and get it on target, and put your round down range and hopefully eliminate that threat. Okay, so let's wrap this up with some purchase options, different configurations and price points, and then some final takeaways here. So with the Ruger SP101, this comes in a lot of different calibers. You can get it in 357, 9mm, 38 plus P, 22 long rifle, and now 327 Federal. They do make it in the 2¼ inch barrel, as well as the 3 inch and the 4.20 inch. They have the match champion versions. Different sight configurations with the high-vis fiber optics and the longer barrel options. You can get different grip options if you want wood or just strict polymer or anything like that. Of course, those are all things you can switch out after you buy your model as well. You can get it with a hammer or hammerless like you see here, and also in the brushed stainless and the blued. Now the basic model, as you see here, is going to retail around the $550 to $600 mark. The Colt King Cobra is in 357. You can get the basic Colt Cobra, which is 38 special. Now you can get the hammerless like here, or the hammered option. You can also get it in blued or stainless like you see here, and a 2-inch barrel or a 3-inch barrel. And the price point on these is going to be around $750 to $800. Now the Kimber K6S, again, you can get in a lot of different type of grip configurations. You can get it in the brushed stainless or the blued. You can get it with a hammer or hammerless like you see here. Now these are only offered in 357 as far as I know. Correct me if I am wrong, but I did look. I cannot find any other options in any other calibers. Barrel lengths on these are 2 inches like you see here, or a 3-inch version as well. Now the Kimber K6S also sells at about the $750 to $800 range. So a recap is these are about the $750 to $800, about the same price, whereas the Ruger is about $200 to $300 cheaper. So keep that in mind when you make your purchase. Some final takeaways here. I think that all three of these are going to be excellent options for your next concealed carry purchase. Some are going to sort of outshine the others in different regards. If you're looking for strictly something that is small, compact, easy to use, light to carry, I would definitely sort of lean a little bit more towards the Kimber. If that is all you care about, maybe a deep concealment or a pocket concealment, that shorter grip is going to be beneficial to you. The shorter barrel, overall shorter height, the lighter weight. Of course, now lightweight and a shorter grip is going to be a little bit more difficult to control in 357, but if you are a proficient shooter with a lot of experience, you can beat that with training. Keep in mind, you can also shoot 38s and 38 plus P, which is going to be a lot more controllable. So you always have that option there for you. A good 38 special defensive load, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, especially at those sort of typical defensive engagement distances. So there's that for you. If you are more concerned with a price point, you want a really nice high quality revolver, you're stuck at the $500 to $600 mark, There is nothing wrong with the Ruger SP101. It does weigh in and has an overall footprint of a size similar between the two. I do like the trigger. I would actually say I like the fact that you can stage the trigger again on a double action only revolver a little bit easier than you can on the Kimber. Just in my opinion, gives you a little bit more control there, but again, may not be super necessary in the close-in engagement ranges of a sort of typical defensive scenario. Keep in mind, being hammerless, anybody who likes a hammer, that you can stage that trigger on single action. If that's how you like to shoot, you can sort of get over that issue of not being able to stage it on double action, not a problem. People like single action hammerless revolvers or concealed hammer revolvers or hammer spurless revolver, however you want to say it. A little bit more safety there, you know, that hammer spur doesn't snag on anything. Most people aren't going to carry with the firearm loaded and the hammer back, just because that's a really light trigger pull for something that's sort of sticking in your pants all day. So anywhere there's that. For somebody who likes a classic revolver and maybe has larger hand sizes, something a little bit beefier that's going to absorb that recoil, maybe you want a glove box gun, not taking up a bunch of space, something you're not going to carry on you all the time. You do like the classic lines of the Colt, something that's going to be a little bit more controllable due to its weight and easier to hold on to due to its grip. I would stick with the Colt. So there's a little bit of something in each of these options for everybody. Again, you could get the more classic Colt King Cobras. You do sort of see them on the market pop up, but the older variations are still sitting around anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000, mainly due to their collectability. But this is a really refined firearm. I really like that trigger pull on this one the most. To me, this would be the most easy to handle, easy to use, and most accurate, but again, that comes with the detriment of weight and size. So in the firearm game, there's always a trade-off. It's where you want to go, where you want to be in price point, size, weight, controllability, function. Those are all factors you are going to have to sort of come up with on your own. But hopefully I have done a good job laying those factors out so you can pick and choose what is important to you. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you guys off there. I am Chris with Marksman Shooting Sports in Westfield, Indiana. You are watching Marksman TV, and I will see you next time.